So you're an astronaut on the moon, and you've been working all day, and every so often you think you see out of the corner of your eye flashes of light. Eventually, you turn and you actually catch one of these just in the nick of time. And there, along the horizon, coming your way, is what appears to be a giant storm, with flashes of light coming out of it. Knowing that you have no shelter where you are, you immediately get into your lunar rover and drive to the closest crater you can find, hoping to find some form of safety inside of it. As you come to the crest of the crater, you grind to a stop and look down in dismay. There in the basin of the crater is a glowing mist, and you know what it is, and you know it's lethal. Knowing that you'll find no shelter anywhere, you turn and you glance up at the earth, and you just wish you were back home safe. This is a potential scenario that NASA actually had to worry about while preparing for the Apollo missions. How you doing? My name is David Hoyt. I do scientific outreach right here, and you're watching Celestial Safaris, where we take you on tours of the more exotic places in the universe. This video is actually a response to a video I recorded prior called Top 5 Most Mysterious Phenomena on the Moon that scientists can't fully explain yet. And this was the number one thing. So I just figured I'd start with the most compelling and kind of work my way back with companion videos for each one of them. This one is on those mysterious lights on the moon, something called transient lunar phenomena. And we're going to get into what they are, their history, what they look like, and the prevailing theories of what they could be. And neither of them are very good. So transient lunar phenomena has been something that's been observed for about 1,000 years now, from everyone from junior and amateur astronomers to professional astronomers. They've even got photographs of these things. For a long time, they weren't sure if they were objects that were, actually happening on the moon, phenomenon there, or maybe it was just something atmospheric that was messing with their telescopes. Later on, they could confirm that these were things happening on the moon. They seem to happen all over the moon in general, but in two main areas. The Aristarchus crater, which is a famous crater, up in the northwest corner of the moon. It's one of the most brightest craters, so one of the easiest to spot from a telescope and observe. And then my personal favorite area on the moon, which is the Ptolemy complex, particularly around the crater Alphonsus. And I'll show you photos of that crater in a second too. Folks have just, as of recently, cataloged about 2,254 instances of these lunar phenomena and mysterious lights. And they're very peculiar. They could last for several hours to just a few seconds, and they're very varied. They kind of come in two distinct categories, these lunar lights. Category one would be like strange white clouds of mist or pinkish red colors of mist. Sometimes they report bluish green, but almost all of them are predominantly reddish pink or white colored. And these are kind of like clouds that obscure objects on the moon. They linger for hours and then they just disappear. And then the second type is flashes of light that are very bright, intense, and they happen briefly and then they're gone. And they think they might be two separate phenomena, although they have no confirmation on either of them. So back in 1965, NASA was busy preparing for the lunar manned missions. These would be the Apollo missions. And they really were concerned about these mysterious lights on the moon. I mean, wouldn't you be? So what they did is they created a Project Moonblink, which was to observe the moon, study these things, try and get confirmation that they were real, and chart where they were. The goal was to purposely not land any astronauts anywhere near where these things tend to occur, because mysterious lights flashing on the moon, probably not a good idea to land your astronauts anywhere near them, especially if you have no idea what they are. I mean, what if they're aliens? Well, you don't know. They didn't think they were, but it was a possibility, right? But either way, they didn't want to land people near there. And they also purposely called it Project Moonblink to kind of downplay it a little bit, because they didn't want Congress to freak out and go, what do you mean mysterious lights on the moon? Cancel the manned moon missions. The manned moon missions were pretty important and critical to the nation at the time. So they did confirm these things were actually happening on the moon, and they were true to what people were describing. They witnessed those weird red kind of clouds, white clouds, flashes of light, all sorts of things. In 1969, we actually got to see one of these things firsthand up close. The Apollo 11 astronauts were orbiting the moon in their lunar command module or capsule. and German astronauts, or not, astronomers, were watching the moon, because everyone was watching the moon that day. I mean, there's men up there. So these German astronomers noticed there's one of these mysterious flashes of light going on, and it's really close to where the lunar module is orbiting. So they get on the phone, they call NASA all excitedly, and NASA is like, "Ooh, perfect." So they radio up to the astronauts, and they said, "Hey guys, can you do us a favor and look out your window down at the surface of the moon, kind of near where you're orbiting is the Aristarchus crater, and can you tell us if you see any kind of like weird lights or anything?" And sure enough, they confirmed. They said, "Yeah, there's a weird glowing coming out of that crater, some glowing light." So they could confirm that yes, this was a real thing and it was actually happening. So let's get into the prevailing theories of what scientists think this mysterious lights on the moon could be, this transient lunar phenomena. And like I said, it breaks down to two categories, and neither of them are really that great for an astronaut. So let's get into it. So the first category would have to do with those mysterious kind of hazy glowing clouds that people see from time to time. And they occur primarily around craters and things where there's fissures in the ground. So the prevailing theory is they think that these glowing lights are caused by outgassing, particularly of something called radon-222. Radon-222 is like a side product of the breakdown of uranium. And we do know it happens on the moon. It's also a phenomenon here on Earth. That's why most houses have radon detectors in their basement, because it's not good. Radon is actually the second leading cause of lung cancer in the United States, and killing people all the time. And there's apparently a ton of it on the moon because they have detected it. So interestingly enough, where a lot of these kind of cloud-like mysterious lights occur are again in craters that have fissures, like Aristarchus, that region, and the Ptolemy region near Alphonsus. There's other areas too where they've seen them. Like I said, they happen all over the moon. But interesting thing happens with radon-222. When it gets outgassed from the moon, it's going to be exposed to very, very cold temperatures. And the moon has no magnetic field, so there's nothing to protect this gas, like in our atmosphere, from being bombarded by solar radiation. So now you've got a extremely chilled, cold radon gas that's radioactive, being charged up a little bit by the solar radiation. And sure enough, radon under those kind of circumstances does give off a red kind of pink colored hue. So they're pretty sure that some of these are outgassings, maybe even explosive outgassings, where it just kind of bursts out of the surface suddenly, of radon. So if you were an astronaut on the moon and you were to encounter this, you'd probably want to steer really far away from it. I mean, imagine being on the moon and you see this fog bank rolling in that's glowing like a pink color, and it's totally radioactive. And if you breathe in any of it, somehow it gets on your suit, you bring it into the capsule, and then you breathe that radon gas. Once it's released inside that atmosphere you're breathing, you got lung cancer. It's not a good one. And like I said, it's the second leading cause of death in the United States. Now, the second thing they think might be occurring is these more bright flashes of light that are very shorter in duration. Now, the moon, just so you know, the dust is not like dust how you think it would be here, like the regolith is all dirt and stuff. There's a lot of basalt, there's a lot of iron, and believe it or not, a lot of titanium in that. So a lot of the moon dust is actually very finely ground up shards of metal, like a metal powder. It's actually really dangerous. There was something they kind of called lunar flu. The astronauts would get this lunar metal dust on their spacesuits, bring it back into the module, and then again, when it was exposed to the atmosphere they're breathing in there, they'd breathe it in, and basically you're inhaling shards of metal, and it would tear up your lungs. It could even get into your bloodstream and cause all sorts of havoc. And the symptoms were like flu-like symptoms. So the dust on the moon, one thing, is highly metallic. Being highly metallic, and again, having no protection from solar radiation, it gets blasted all the time with charged particles, which then induces a charge on, or attributes a charge to this metallic dust. Now, this metallic dust, when it gets this charge, gets a lot of electrostatic forces built up. There is a lot of static electricity on the moon. You wouldn't want to be walking around on the moon. You can get zapped. This is a known thing. And so electrostatic forces occur, which then levitate this dust off the surface of the moon. And in fact, what happens is you kind of get dust storms. The dust can get lifted aloft for up to like 3 hours at a time, and it's very observable. There's photos of the moon that's kind of backlit by the sun. You can see the layer of dust in kind of aloft above the surface of the moon, spreading and scattering the light, like you can see in this photo up here. Even lunar, like astronauts, when they're on the surface of the moon, have drawn sketches of glowing coming from the horizon due to this dust being scattered and lifted up in the air and kind of scattering the sunlight. It particularly happens around the terminus line, which is where night turns into day on the moon. And so from pole to pole, there's usually a continuously rolling kind of dust storm that just follows that terminus line. And the reason why is, again, this dust is electrically charged by solar radiation, and that's what kicks it up into the air. And then suddenly it goes from that negative charge to a positive charge when it transfers over into the night side of the moon. So you get this big kind of rolling dust storm. That happens to be a lot of the times where they see, or within a close time frame, of seeing these kind of mysterious flashes of light. So what are those flashes? Well, you got a huge electrostatic buildup in metallic dust particles being scattered around and tumbled around. And just like on Earth, how you have clouds, what happens when those water molecules in the clouds are kind of rubbing against each other, static buildup happens? You guessed it, lightning. So they think that these might be electrostatic discharges, lightning on the moon. And again, if you're an astronaut and you're walking on the surface of the moon, you see one of these storms coming at you, and there's lightning bolts coming down. Probably not a good idea for you to be around at that point. So these are two of the main kind of proposed theories. Other theories could be like incidental, like comet impacts, or not comet impacts, but meteorite impacts, things like that just create like a real brief flash of light. But for the majority of it, they think it kind of breaks down in these two categories. Now, again, it's still a mystery. We really don't know what is causing these things. That's our best guess. And again, neither of them are very good. I mean, lunar lightning and banks of radioactive glowing gas. Interestingly enough, people report seeing these transient lunar phenomena all the time, weekly. In fact, I think I've even seen one just a couple of weeks ago, looking at the moon. It was on the night part of the moon, just past the terminal line, right where you would expect it to be. But and it was a brief flashlight, maybe lasted 15, 20 seconds. It was like a dim little star, had lit up momentarily and then went away. Could have been something in the atmosphere, but I was looking at the telescope looking at the moon through my telescope when I saw it happen. Like I said, it's a very common thing. Nobody knows what it is, but NASA does know that they like to steer clear of it, and obviously for good reasons. So that wraps up kind of explaining the number one mysterious phenomena from my prior video that you can go and watch in the links. That kind of goes over a couple other mysterious phenomena on the moon, like volcanoes that are impossible to exist, magnetic anomalies, gravitational anomalies, you name it, there's a lot of stuff going up on the moon. If you like this sort of stuff and you like these videos, feel free to subscribe, do the thing. It would help me out a lot. I'm still trying to grow this channel and kind of just get the information out there in easily accessible kind of bite-sized snippets. Let me know what you think in the comments, what you think is going on. Let me know if there's any new theories that you want to throw in there. We can kind of have a discussion going on down in the comment section. I'm pretty responsive, so I'd get back to you. And thank you for watching. I hope to see you guys next time. Thank you. So this video is dedicated to a very close friend of mine, Frank Schmidt. Frank is a dive buddy of mine. For people that don't know me, I am a huge scuba diver, and that's how I met Frank. We've gone on daring dives to the depths of the lakes and things like that, and caverns. He was very adamant about me starting a YouTube channel to express my passion about science and particularly astronomy. And it took him a year. It took him about a year to get me to do this. But this video and this channel would not be possible if it weren't for him constantly urging me and convincing me to do a YouTube channel. So again, thank you, Frank. You are a good friend. I appreciate you. And here we are. got a channel putting these videos up now. Thank you, buddy. And see you in the water.